Hi guys, it's Frankie from Frankie Tech. Good to see you guys again. Hope you guys are doing well this fine weekend. Just wanted to do kind of another kind of video in this series here of a video series I started earlier this week, and that was between the Xiaomi Mi 8 SE here, the Oppo Find X, and the iPhone X. Now this is just kind of a continuation of that initial video that I did earlier on Friday. And I think the focus of this video is going to be mainly on benchmarks and performance. And the other thing I'm going to do at the end of the video is a little bit of my PUBG gaming experience as well. So there's a few things that I still haven't tested on these phones. So stay tuned for that in future videos. And that's going to be kind of like battery life. I'm going to kind of do a more in-depth battery deep dive, and as well as an audio deep dive into these three phones in a later video. Also going to be doing my camera comparison. I'm working on getting all the shots for that still. So stay tuned, guys. I do have a live outside of doing this channel, so but hopefully I can bring some good content in other areas to you guys. Anyway, let's kind of jump in here, and the first thing we're going to look at here in terms of benchmarks is Geekbench performance. Now I love Geekbench. I've mentioned this before because I do like just the fact that it is such a overall such a such a fair and kind of cross-platform benchmarker, and I wanted to just share kind of the results of these three phones so you see kind of where they're starting from at the CPU level. So let's have a look at these results quick, and we'll talk about them when we get back. Here you see the scores of the phones that I've tested recently, with the Mi 8 SE scoring in the 1800 range for single core and 5900 for multi-core. The Oppo Find X definitely performed pretty well with a 2300 single core and 8000 multi-core score, but the iPhone X reigns supreme with a 4200 single core and a 10,000 multi-core Geekbench score. All right, so no surprises there. I mean, it's clear that when it comes to Geekbench, the two phones here, the Oppo Find X and the iPhone X, do have an advantage. Obviously, we're running the Snapdragon 845 on this one, the Apple A11 Bionic on the iPhone X. But you know what? I'm pretty impressed still at the Snapdragon 710 in the Mi 8 SE. And if you really compare the kind of single-core performance there, it's not really far off. I mean, it's kind of comparable to the Snapdragon 835 of the previous generation. And yeah, I think that's why really kind of in day-to-day use, I think the Mi 8 SE has been stellar. It's been a quick performer. I mean, it opens apps automatically, and you can see it there. You're not missing much. It really does remind me of my kind of Snapdragon 835 experience from last year with the kind of Pixel 2 and kind of just all the previous flagships from last year. So it's really not that far behind overall. And now a first for Frankie Tech. This is the first time I'm previewing Antutu here on the channel. I haven't used this benchmark previously, but there was one kind of aspect I did like, and that was kind of the GPU performance and how how that is able to be benchmarked. And just comparing the GPU, since it is cross-platform, I was able to run the benchmark on all three of these. So let's have a look at those results now, and let's talk about it when we get back. The Mi 8 scored 169,698 in Antutu and performed pretty well in the CPU test, although its GPU performance wasn't as good in the 74% of users. The Oppo Find X crushed the Antutu benchmark with a 288,000 score and scored pretty much in the 99th percentile for both CPU and GPU performance. Meanwhile, the iPhone X scored a 233,000 score there and performed pretty well, but not as well as I was expecting overall. All right, so Antutu. Antutu made its mark here on Frankie Tech, and it's pretty clear to see, guys, that this Snapdragon 845, and at least the way it's been implemented in this Find X right here, is really spectacular. That Antutu score of 288, like that's one of the highest scores I think I've ever seen on a phone, period. And it really is impressive, kind of, and it shows to the level really that they have been able to kind of optimize that chip, at least for this Oppo Find X. Then in second place, obviously, we had the iPhone 10. And, you know, I was surprised. I thought the iPhone 10 would be a little higher there, but in that 230 range, I think it still scored really well. But I think the most impressive score definitely was that Mi 8 SE. And it is kind of up there in that kind of higher 180, you know, in that kind of near 200,000 range for a phone that is so much more of a value than the other two right here. I mean, that's really impressive, I think. Just kind of seeing it in the tests, it was really performing admirably in the Antutu. There was a little bit of kind of lag, a little bit of frame drop there in the really serious GPU test there, that GPU portion. But overall, this phone performed really awesome. And it's just another example of why I think it is so impressive that this Mi 8 SE is able to hang in there with the other two. And now, you know, wanted to kind of go more in depth on something that's very, I think, very important to all you guys, and that's PUBG gaming. Now, why do I think PUBG gaming has become such a big part of at least the kind of the performance side of my channel experience? It's because it's such a popular game, and it is not just that, it is the game I think that right now is really testing the limits of at least hardware on the Android side. But it's nice that it's available on the iPhone 10 as well on iOS. And so because of that, I honestly think that it is a great way to kind of test the GPU performance on all of these phones and really see how it runs. So I'm really excited to kind of show my results now of how it's been PUBG gaming on these three phones. So let's have a look, and I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to do this with a little montage of my gaming experience with these three phones thus far. The PUBG gaming test, and here we're checking out the PUBG settings. I wanted to make sure that all the settings were the same for all of the phones. So here we see the Mi 8 SE, and just making sure that these settings were as extreme as they could be. The Oppo Find 10, and oh boy, look at that screen, look at that display. It's amazing for gaming. HDR, extreme settings also set up there. I may have picked realistic there, but I think overall the main experience is going to be because of extreme settings. And here the iPhone 10, once again, I made sure that HDR was set and that ultra or extreme settings were on as well. And here we see the plane jump on the Mi 8 SE. And so far, with extreme settings on, the Mi 8 SE has been performing very admirably. You can see here as I tilt and motion the camera around, honestly, it was performing well, especially with the jump here. Free falling, looks good. And oh boy, the Oppo Find 10 in extreme settings was performing really great here in the plane jump segment. You see the fluidity there as I move the plane around. It almost looks like 60 frames per second. And when I jump out, it was just really awesome. And look at that immersive screen so far. The iPhone 10 performed really well. I mean, overall, the image, the movement, the lack of kind of any lag whatsoever meant it was performing just as well, I would say, as the Oppo Find 10. But the immersive screen on the Find 10 was something to really admire. And here finally with on-the-ground gameplay on the Mi 8 SE. And this phone, I think even from my previous experience, was performing really great. I was really questioning whether extreme settings were going to hamper down the 710. It did not. The 710 performed beautifully in this test. And here on the Oppo Find 10, what an immersive experience playing this game. I think I gotta say I probably have enjoyed the PUBG experience playing on this phone over the Mi 8 and over the iPhone 10 for that matter. It's just been a really awesome immersive experience thus far. And finally on the iPhone 10, really comfortable gaming. Extreme settings were a cinch, not a problem whatsoever. And just overall, I definitely noticed though the colors on the Oppo Find 10 and the Mi 8 SE were a bit more punchy than the ones on the iPhone 10. So now, guys, just talking about kind of overall thoughts on how these performed. I think the really exciting part of this was not that these kind of flagship phones did so well. I mean, you put extreme settings on this Find X there, and it ran things beautifully. There was no denying that it ran it the 845 is the one chip that can really handle the extreme settings on PUBG and just scream. The iPhone 10 definitely did pretty well as well, and I think that speaks to the really strong GPU performance that most iOS most iOS devices have. They've always really had great performance in gaming, and that's really the beauty of iOS in that side of things. But comes at a price. This is $1,000 phone. This is well out of the reach of so many people, and almost just doesn't even make sense from a value perspective. You look at this phone though compared to this. I mean, it's a great phone. Don't get me wrong, iPhone 10, but this phone really has made its mark in terms of its performance abilities and in terms of the way it games. And that immersive screen, as you saw, was just really, really spectacular for gaming. But here we are. Here's the Mi 8 SE, which is running so much kind of lower in terms of a price point. Yeah, I know the screen's not as good. Yeah, I know that the 710 did have a few more stutters here and there. But are those stutters, and is that kind of like slightly less immersive screen worth the extra $650 to get to the price point of like the Find 10 and even more so the iPhone 10? I think for a lot of people, the answer is obviously no. And, to think that you can get basically two plus of these phones, almost 3 for the price of this, you could pretty much, get your whole family on Mi 8 SEs and have the performance be pretty great overall. But I think what's most exciting, and I think that is my real takeaway from this, is that Snapdragon 710 is really creating a lot of great experiences. It's opening the door for great experiences at a lower price point that was really not available and was only available at the top end in the Snapdragon 800 series. It is now available on this 710, which runs really smoothly, really efficiently. And just a quick word on battery that I do want to mention, because I am still doing some kind of some tests on these two right here. But I have done, if you've seen my previous videos, battery discharge tests on here, the Mi 8 SE. And this phone, guys, like there's no denying it. This phone right here, I'm remembering that score because that score, that 5,249 battery score was incredible. This phone is lasting me 2 days in very, very comfortable, just regular use. Maybe hardcore use is lasting me a day and a half, but overall the standby has been amazing. And that battery score, I tell you guys, I think when the final kind of test is done and, really comparing the battery between these three, I think I know who's going to end out on top. And that's the combination of the efficiency of the 710 with that huge battery, or at least big enough battery, I think, which is that, let's go here to the settings just to remind you guys what the size of the battery is. I want to say it's 3120, right? 3120. I mean, it doesn't seem that big on paper, but I think that's the efficiency of the 710 shining through. And I think it's going to be hard for any phone, maybe save the Mi Max 3, which stay tuned for that, is going to actually beat this Mi 8 SE on battery. So that's it for my quick kind of just take on battery. Stay tuned for a more in-depth dive very soon. So that's the end of this video, guys. Like I said, there's a few other areas that I'm going to be testing on these phones, but just wanted to get something out to you guys this Sunday and be able to kind of share my thoughts on the continuous experience with these. These are very different phones, and I've heard some people mentioning, the Mi 8 is the one that should really be here. But you know what, guys? The Mi 8 being here would be two 845s battling it out, two Snapdragon 845 phones. That's not that exciting to me. To me, honestly, this is the more exciting comparison, how the 710 performs against the 845 and then compared against a completely different phone, completely different architecture. And that's why I'm loving this series so far, because it really is kind of putting into perspective these price points and really showing you guys what a big difference it is. But thanks again, guys, for watching this video. If you have any questions, any comments, definitely drop them in the comment section there. If you like this video, give me that thumbs up. I do appreciate it. And if you love the content that I've been doing, definitely subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon also for kind of updates on future videos, future giveaways. Thanks again, guys, for all of your support. Also with this previous giveaway, I appreciate the patience. There was kind of a hectic start. I'm going to be updating kind of the status of my giveaway, like the giveaway rules for the next one. So I really want to kind of thank all my OG subscribers subscribers, all you guys who've been there from the start, the ones who follow me on the live stream. The next giveaway is going to be really focused on you guys, and I want to thank you guys because without your kind of constant kind of focus and your attention on my channel, I couldn't be where I am today. So thanks again. But anyways, guys, hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend. And this is where I say, this is Frankie Tech signing off. Y'all have a good one.